It's 8 p.m. in Banjul. This is the news. First, the headlines. The Vice President outlines government stance in protecting the country's fisheries resources. Former Secretary General Lamin Nyabali and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Abdoulaye Jallow, reappear before the Janneh Commission. Donald Trump's third travel plan takes effect as the U.S. Supreme Court approves the immigration order. And a nationwide protest hits Nigeria over the emergence of a video of an alleged slave market in Libya where African migrants are sold. These and other stories coming ahead in this hour. I am Issa Jallow. President Adama Barrow will attend the inauguration of the second international airport in Senegal on Thursday. He will be among several heads of state attending the inauguration. The Blaise Diagne International Airport, situated in Njas in the region of Thiès, about 50 kilometers away from the Senegalese capital Dakar, the President will be accompanied by the First Lady, Cabinet Ministers and other senior officials. President Barrow and his delegation will leave for Dakar tomorrow, Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Those invited to see him are requested to be at the airport half an hour before he leaves. The Vice President has stressed the importance the government attaches to the conservation of the Gambia's fisheries resources. Aja Fatoumata Jallow Tambajang was speaking at the opening of a 3-day conference on marine resource management. Khadija Juara reports.
The forum is organized by the Ministry of the Environment in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme. The EU-funded program brought together participants from 6 West African countries to share ideas on improving good governance and the promotion of best practices for sustainable use of marine and coastal resources. Madam Jallow Tambajang said the initiative will help create employment and thus reduce poverty.
Recent statistics indicate that the fish stocks continue to decline, particularly the highly valued demersal and some pelagic fisheries. My government has already taken operational steps to ensure that illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing is dramatically reduced through participatory surveillance of fishing waters, creating conservation areas and enforcing fisheries management regulations. That the fisheries sectors has an important role to play in the sustainable development of our countries.
Also speaking at the event, EU Ambassador Atilia Lajos said the fisheries sector is crucial to enhancing the Gambia's socio-economic development and food security.
Given its potential, the fisheries sector can play a significant role in the socio-economic development of the Gambia in terms of employment generation and poverty reduction, particularly in the rural areas, as well as in food security and improved nutritional standards.
UN Resident Coordinator Ade Mamoyani Lekoji hoped the forum would help strengthen the governance of marine resources.
The fisheries sector in general and small-scale fishing in particular play an important food security and employment income generation role in the Gambia and in West Africa as a whole. It employs more than 3 million full-time workers, about 10% of the working population of the region, and contributes significantly to wealth and long-term development needs.
Reporting for GRTS News, I am Khadija Tujuara.
Former Secretary General Lamin Nyabali and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Abdoulaye Jallow, Tuesday reappeared before the Commission of Inquiry to clarify roles played either by them or their institutions in the alleged public financial mismanagement of Yahya Jammeh and his close associates. Suma Jadama reports.
The summoning of the aforementioned individuals include the payments made from the GNPC account, sales of Premier Agro Oil Company, amongst others. In his testimony, Lamin Nyabali explained that he was instructed by the former president to make payments from the GNPC account for the procurement of fishing gears, dental care for Fajara Barracks, and the payment of tuition fees and living costs for beneficiary students of Yahya Jammeh's scholarship.
And for Bodunjai, It was meant for the procurement of fishing nets.
Okay.
Called Yola. And I think for Sheikh Njai, it's Filatune. It's also another type of fishing net. And for Senegal, Madam, they are outboard engines. I recognized them and I did sign them.
Okay. Who authorized the payment for those?
The former president.
Oh.
What we will see is request letters coming addressed directly to his as former president of the republic, and once they are reviewed by him, he would then authorize payment for those that he said he had approved. But most of those payments were also, during my time, were stipend.
Testifying before commissioners of the Janneh Commission, the Permanent Secretary Ministry of Finance, Abdoulaye Jallow, said his ministry was engaged by officials of Standard Chartered Bank during the sale of assets belonging to Premier Agro Oil Company, which defaulted to settle a loan given to them by the bank in 2006.
Premier Agro, we understand, took a loan from Standard Chartered Bank, but the loan defaulted and the Standard Bank took over the assets of Premier Agro. Later what happened was that the Standard Chartered Bank, the CEO then engaged the Minister of Finance, maybe as part of their getting engagements. They engaged the Minister.
Who was the Managing Director of Standard Chartered Bank and
was,
the Minister of Finance?
He was O.J. Makumba, was the CEO at the time, and the Finance Minister was Musa Jibril Balagay.
Musa Jibril Balagay.
Yes.
Jallow informed commissioners that relentless efforts are underway to produce the sale agreement documents before the ongoing Janneh Commission. Sitting continues tomorrow. Suma Jadama reporting for GRTS.
The 2018 budget speech by the Minister of Finance is scheduled for Friday, 15th December at 10 a.m. at the National Assembly chambers in Banjul. A media release from the Assembly says the budget speech outlines the fiscal, monetary and economic programs of the government. All ministers, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps and members of the public are cordially invited to grace the occasion. The Gambia Revenue Authority, in partnership with the International Monetary Fund, WCO, and ECOWAS, Monday opened a 4-day regional seminar on integrity. Senabu Jan covered the opening ceremony and now tells us more.
The participants were drawn from 5 West African countries, representing tax and custom revenue companies from Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Liberia, Cape Verde, Ghana, and the host country, the Gambia. Salo Tiamtore, an ECOWAS representative, spoke of the need for closer cooperation between the various countries and tax authorities. The event, which was organized by the International Monetary Fund and AfriTech West 2, is aimed at developing stronger partnership between the various tax bodies. The outcome of this important program is also expected to facilitate objectives of customs and integrity, which will be used to demonstrate key elements and international good practices in developing effective strategies in the workplace.
So we have a number of sessions which explain to the delegates about what we expect of them, really where the learnings come from as well. So what's the best practice based upon? Most of it's on individual countries' experience from around the world. One of the benefits of customs is it's a global organization. So we have the opportunity to learn from all the customs authorities around the world, of which there are over 200. They bring all their expertise together and we distill that into best practice guidance. So we will share that with them and they can learn from others. And certainly we will look to, not just with the Gambia, but with the other countries here as well, to help them to improve their approach, or at the very least to take the opportunity to look at what they're doing, to reflect on that, and see if there's anything that they can do differently.
The Commissioner General of GRA, Yankuba Dabo, professed that his workshop will provide every revenue administration the opportunity to review their approaches to integrity.
The authority continues to make every effort towards creating the necessary environment for staff performance. In addition, since the creation of Gambia Revenue Authority, there has been an appointment Promotion and Disciplinary Committee, called APDC, with the responsibility to handle all issues relating thereto. All these efforts are geared towards minimizing use of personal discretions by officers. They are holding of a huge cash and maintaining the integrity and professionalism at work.
For his part, Andrew Argyle said that the primary role is to help and support the objectives provided for all companies present and for them to take back their experiences and apply it to their home administrations.
We are dealing with some important issues. In working this week, we hope that we will be aligning and thinking together on ways that we can tackle integrity.
I am Zainabu Jang for GRTS News.
Fai Cisse, the new ambassador to China, Tuesday presented his credentials to the President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. Meanwhile, young in the media are moving to inspire a new generation of advocates to battle FGM and gender-based violence. The event is the first step being taken to prepare youth activists for nationwide sensitization programs. Senabujan reports.
These young people in the media are meeting to discuss issues around FGM. The harmful practice has been officially banned in the Gambia, but young activists have intensified their advocacy to totally eradicate the menace. Other issues being discussed also include mechanisms to stop gender-based violence. Fatima Loshi is the president of Young People in the Media.
To keep these sessions interactive so that when you go back to your communities, to your different schools, you will be able to represent them. You will be able to also pass on the knowledge that you've gained from this workshop.
Young people here are looking to use the media as a tool to advance advocacy programs to enlighten the public on the harms of FGM.
Allow me to start by congratulating the young people in the media for their constant and dynamic efforts in organizing this event, to the girls' generations for their support and partnership by singling out young people in the media from pool of organizations for the second time in a row based on their track records on advocating for positive change on issues affecting children and also the empowerment of the girl child.
The drive here is to engage and motivate young people to campaign for positive change.
There's so many vast number of issues that affect children, and we are advocating for the rights of children in many forms: education, right to health, right to freedom. But this specific training is focusing on FGM and gender-based violence.
The eradication of gender-based violence and FGM gets young people in the media busy through engaging forums which pave the way for interventions to resolve critical issues affecting children and girls.
If you don't sit down and be taught, you can never understand the entails of what gender-based violence is all about and what culture is all about. But today, I have understood in-depth information about what gender-based violence is all about and the way we should communicate it to the society.
They are teaching us to take up that advocacy talent to the next generation.
I am Zainabu Jang for GRTS News.
This week on Face the Nation on GRTS TV, we are looking at discipline in our schools. Are schools authorities failing in their duties? Are parent-teacher associations serving their role in promoting teacher-parent relations? And are students doing what is expected of them? Well, join the debate on Face the Nation at GRTS headquarters on Friday, 8th December at 3 p.m. Top educationists will be there to answer your questions and listen to your concerns. One of the fastest growing forms of art amongst young people today is poetry. The genre, which brings an unflinching way of word expression, brought together young aspiring writers naming their social club Poetry Cafe. By Ibrahim Cham attended their latest session and filed this report.
Like speeches, but what defies them is the sophisticated twisting wordplay game uttered by the youngsters. The writers perform pieces on love, politics, activism, and gender-based violence to the applause of the crowd.
The madness of war is no more. When the hate of man have passed away, when the heart-drumming guns and bombs are cast away, when tyrants fall and dictators die, then we shall go home. Beyond the silent hills and gentle dales, beyond the western seas where the white man came to capture, to torture, the warrior, untamed, unnamed, the son of Kinte, we shall go home beyond the eastern suns where the black man came.
One of the organizers, Amifai, said that this is the best platform to encourage writers to improve.
The Poetry Cafe is a very it makes a very big impact on the writers of today because it helps us write. It encourages us to write, knowing that we will have to share our poems and our feelings with the audience of like young people like us. Like, you know, for most of us, writing is like a relief or an entertainment. So knowing that we can share our stories, like just our raw feelings, like with people who are like basically the same to us, is refreshing.
Lala Toure, who already made a name for herself at the Poetry Slam finals, is one of the main supporters of Poetry Cafe, performing her piece and also being a source of inspiration to the upcoming poets.
And we created the Poetry Cafe platform to help young talents, young people who aspire to be poets, who aspire to be writers, to create a platform for them where they can come and showcase their talent. Like, we realize that a lot of young people out there are talented in writing, but they don't have the platform to showcase these talents. Looking around me, I see a nation left with scars that are still open. Scars hiding behind the smiles of its people with hearts that are still broken. I see streets that were once filled with love, joy, and humanity, now torn apart by chaos, crimes, and non-existent unity.
The social club, which brings the best of the latest batch of poets, is also making room for the aspiring ones. For GRTS News, I'm Ibrahim Chan.
Welcome back. And now to sports. The Chinese community is a very friendly and sporting one, be it in their own homes, home country, or outside their nation. And so when the Chinese community in Kenya decides to hold a sporting event, they turn up in their numbers. This year's Chinese Overseas Table Tennis Tournament was graced by Councillor Wang Zuizhuang of the Chinese Embassy.
And here to grace the occasion was Wang Zuizhuang, the Councillor at the Chinese Embassy in Kenya. Wang played an exhibition match against Du Fang, winner of the men's singles event last year, and a member of the organizing team of this annual event.
This year, so many good players are coming from China, and also so many players are improving. So it is difficult to define, but also I think I just try my best to enjoy the game.
Su Yangxiao finished second in last year's women's singles event, and she's hoping to go one better this time round. Most important, looking to form a bond with her countrymen and women.
The competition is just about friendship, about passion. I don't think the result is very important, but even the last year competition brought me a lot of friendship. I hope I can achieve a better result this year. But I know there is another lady who is also very, very good at table tennis.
The competition brings together players from all backgrounds as teams from the construction industry, banking sector, communication and business face each other. This in turn helps the Chinese community get to know each other and relate better as they compete in their national sport.
As you know, table tennis is very popular among Chinese communities here. There are so many people play and many people can play. And we think this is the best way to bring people together.
Du Fang has been in Kenya for over 10 years, and besides being a competitor at this year's event, he's also coach for the Overseas Chinese Association, as well as the assistant coach for the Kenya table tennis national team.
Many Chinese are interested in table tennis, and they really want to improve and also get the physical training. So I'm helping them to train the table tennis. At the same time, also I'm the assistant for the Kenya national table tennis team.
For this year's tournament, these Kenyan charges form part of the officiating crew as the two-day event kicked off on Saturday. Wazir Khamsin, CGTN.
Welcome back. A ruling by the United States Supreme Court allows for the Trump administration's third travel plan to take effect. Released in September, the ban restricts citizens from Syria, Iran, Chad, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and some Venezuelan officials from entering the U.S. CGTN's Sean Collins has more from Washington, D.C.
The ruling that took months to achieve, but it gives Donald Trump what he has been pushing for since his first week in office. A split court ruled that the administration's third version of the travel ban can take full effect. In essence, it will prevent nationals from 6 mostly Muslim nations from coming to the United States. President Trump has been fighting for this ban on residents from Syria, Iran, Chad, Somalia, Libya, and Yemen for most of the time he has been in office. The Trump administration says the ban is necessary to protect the United States' security and keep terrorists from entering the country.
And this is the protection of the nation from foreign terrorist entry into the United States. We all know what that means.
The decision by the High Court supersedes a compromise that justices reached back in June. That agreement called for a partial enforcement of the ban, but did allow people with what's termed bona fide U.S. connections to enter. The initial measure Trump signed 10 months ago caused chaos at major U.S. airports, with federal officials unsure of how to treat Trump's early attempt to ban travelers from predominantly Muslim countries. Trump's travel ban also led to a host of legal challenges that forced the administration to twice redraft its proposal. It should be noted that this is not the final ruling. There are continuing challenges to the travel ban, and the U.S. Supreme Court encouraged appeals courts still reviewing the measures to move quickly. 2 federal appeals courts, Mike, are scheduled to hear the arguments on the merits of this measure this week. The latest travel ban also bars some people from the DPRK and some people from the Venezuelan government officials from entering the U.S. as well.
To Nigeria, and since a video emerged of an alleged slave market in Libya where African migrants are sold, there have been growing protests across the country over the issue. There have been protests in both Abuja and Lagos demanding action from the government and a speedy repatriation of Nigerians trapped in Libya. Here is CGTN's Deji Badmouz with that report from the United Nations building in Lagos.
A march in Lagos for African migrants trapped in Libya.
We are Africa! We are Africa!
I am Nigeria, but I am dying every day. And as it is in Lagos, so is it in Abuja, the Nigerian capital city, where there have been series of protests in the past 1 week, and more are likely to follow in the coming days. The protesters in Lagos, mainly celebrities, marched through a major district where most of the offices of continental and international bodies are located, winding up in front of the ECOWAS building in the city.
It is an illusion that slavery has ended because slavery is still very much alive. Slavery is still very much alive with us today. So we are down here to let the outside world know that enough is enough. We are indicting not just the United Nations, we are indicting the American government because many of us, we have got to understand that Libya was not what, it's not what it is right now. Say 2011 when it was under the leadership of Muammar Gaddafi.
All African leaders are guilty. If you think your citizens can use Libya as a road to prosperity, this is bound to happen. All African heads need to develop their country to make their country a safe place for their citizens. For the citizens not to choose to die on the sea.
In Abuja, there's been protests in front of the Libyan embassy, and lately, the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This group says it will continue to stage a sit-out in front of the Foreign Ministry to press the government to act swiftly.
There should be an emergency meeting of African Union to look into this issue. We are also demanding for an emergency meeting of all leaders of note in this country, the president, the governors, lawmakers, for them to meet critically.
Their action prompted the Nigerian head of mission to Libya and Malta to come out and address them on what the government has done on the issue so far.
I come here with this opportunity you have created to tell you
that the mission repatriate migrant Nigerians every week, 250 every week. Now, so far, we have repatriated up now 3,000 Nigerians, and we continue because of the situation in Libya. The main job is this repatriation of Nigerians.
The migrant issue is the biggest talking point in this country today. People are talking about it everywhere. The social media here is inundated with images of suffering Nigerians in Libya. But the biggest irony is that despite the heart-wrenching stories emanating from that North African country, there are quite a number of Nigerians who are still making that dangerous trip to Europe. Deji Badmo, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria. A march in Lagos for African migrants trapped in Libya.
We now join the Central Focus Office for the day's weather outlook. That brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a quick recap of the main stories. Vice President Fatimata Jallow Tambajang has outlined government's stance in protecting the country's fisheries resources. Former Secretary General Lamin Nyabali and Finance Permanent Secretary Abdullah Jallow have reappeared before the Janneh Commission. Donald Trump's third travel plan has taken effect as the U.S. Supreme Court approves the immigration order. And a nationwide protest has hit Nigeria over the emergence of a video of an alleged slave market in Libya where African migrants are sold. That was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company and have a pleasant night.